wall. It's off the wall. 1 run scores. Here comes Berkman. Freese has tied it. 7-7. Unbelievable.
I'm just saying, if you don't have chills after listening to that, you might not be a St. Louis Cardinals fan. Hello, welcome to the program. It's the Cardinals Insider Podcast. My name is Brett McMillan. That's David Freese tying game number 6 of the 2011 Fall Classic, 7-7, with that famous triple in the 9th inning against the Texas Rangers. And of course, you know what happened 2 innings later. A St. Louis native immortalized in St. Louis baseball history, and not just one of the greatest World Series performances in Cardinals history, but in baseball history. That postseason, that World Series, unbelievable for David Freese. He joins Dan McLaughlin. Let's get right to it. Danny Mac and David Freese on a Cardinals Town Hall here on the Cardinals Insider Podcast.
Well, welcome into our video Zoom. We've been doing this on Wednesday nights, kind of a town hall meeting. We've had John Mozeliak, we've had Mike Schilt, and now we get the 2011 World Series MVP, David Freese. And this is presented by Budweiser, Wells Fargo, Shelter Insurance, Scott Credit Union. I know it's been a busy day for many of our employees that are at the Cardinal offices today because some of the announcements with tickets. But first and foremost, happy birthday, by the way, to David Freese. And good to be with you. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, Dan. How you doing?
Where do we find you? By the way, I'm doing great, but where do we find you right now?
Just down in Austin. I'm on the front porch of the house that we're renting out. So I just got out here, get away from the family, and hang out with everybody for the next hour or so.
So you were telling me before we got on this, you're hanging out at the mother-in-law's house.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what happens when you're a big-time World Series MVP. You get to go hang out at the mother-in-law's house.
Yeah, it's family time, right? It's family time. Yeah, we're renovating our house, a couple neighborhoods north, and we just kind of jumped in with her while this finishes up, and it works because obviously, look at this cat. This is what the neighborhood cat. This isn't even our cat. That's unbelievable. We're staying here till the house gets finished, but it's been great with the virus and everything, just kind of all hanging out and taking care of each other, so it's cool.
Does that cat have a name?
No, we need to name it. Won't go away. We fed it once, and now she just sticks around, but she's great, so I don't know. We'll keep her out of the way.
Does it make you think of Jim Hayes, the cat? I mean, I'm sure you
always, unfortunately. That's why I lock the doors.
Well, you look great. I know you have a little guy in the house, and you got another one on the way, right? So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Early June, if everything goes according to plan. Marin's due in first week of June. So, add one more, another boy, and we'll get going with that.
What's it like? What's it like being a dad for you, and kind of being out of baseball now, and obviously family time for everybody? What's that been like?
Well, Marin's working now, so I get full-fledged understanding of what it's like to be a mom, and so you think you appreciate it before you have to take care of your kid 8 hours a day.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable. But being home, being with the family, kind of the mental freedom of from baseball, it's been nice. I was sitting around all winter thinking about what it's going to be like to watch all my friends play and this and that, and you find out that nobody's playing, and so you wasted all those thoughts.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy times, obviously. But we're enjoying the downtime and being around each other.
Are you happy to be, I guess, officially retired? I mean, is that something that no matter what, if the Cardinals came and said, okay, we need a bat in September, this guy's pretty good, but that's not going to happen, huh?
No, I don't think so. I'm staying in shape just because I like staying in shape. But, I honestly, I think missing playing will happen eventually. But I don't have that right now, but I miss the guys. Like I missed February, that feeling of spring starting, getting around all the dudes and just hanging out and working out and stuff. So that's like the most crushing thing about it. is just not being able to cut it up with everybody on a daily basis.
Were you finding yourself like texting guys and them texting you and calling each other back and forth? And was that happening for you in spring training?
Yeah. I got pretty close with the Dodger guys, just just getting over there and hanging out with them. And so those are a lot of the guys I would catch up with. But you have guys from the Cardinals and then the Pirates and stuff that you just kind of keep up with and hit up every now and then and joke around. But yeah, I'm gonna miss the clubhouse for sure.
I was talking with our buddy Joe Pfeiffer, who does just an amazing job running the Cardinals alumni, and he said that he had reached out to you early last season when you were playing, and your team came through early, and he had said, hey, when that happens, when you retire, we'd love to get you involved in the organization. You've kind of made a conscious decision that even though you played with different teams, that it's still home. St. Louis and Cardinals and the organization, that's home for David Freese, isn't it?
Yeah. And I try and think about if I didn't grow up there, how would I feel about, all the teams I played for and this and that. But I think a lot of it just comes down to what type of organization St. Louis has. And, obviously the personnel is a little different, but the foundation is the same. The fans are the same, just the love for the organization, the history of it. But then you add in, it's hometown team, all the history that you learn about growing up. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm a Cardinal, and obviously when I got traded, I kind of joke around that I kind of just vanished for about 5 or 6 years. But that's what I needed to do. Like I just couldn't handle things the way a lot of people can handle things, and would I have done things differently? Probably. If I go back, but I just wasn't ready. To just do things the way maybe I should have. But just the idea of retiring and kind of getting back into some Cardinal stuff and being a part of that organization a little bit, that's exciting to me.
And the fantasy camp, by the way, if we have it, let's keep it fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But Joe is telling us in September that's coming up, and you're going to be kind of the signature figure with that and a chance to mingle with fans and get back in uniform. I'm sure you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, we're gonna.
There's the cat again.
We're gonna. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with the September camp, but I'm looking forward to it. Joining up with the guys up there and having fun for a few days, and then, the fantasy camp next year in Jupiter. I think there's maybe a 2011 theme, so to speak, for it. And so I'm gonna run down there and hang out for the week. So that'll be cool. I just hope, obviously, safety first, but I hope everything can kind of somewhat get back to normal. There's rumors of the season that might go on this year. That'll be great for everybody.
Well, it leads me to this. And by the way, we have a chat option here on the Zoom. So if fans want to ask you a question, they can. And this was from Matthew Levison. He is 12 years old. He says, hi, David. I'm 12 years old. Met you in 2011. I was almost 4. I was at Game 7 of the World Series in 2011. You've been my favorite player ever since. I'm playing baseball right now for a select team. Was wondering what you think of new division and playoff proposals. Happy birthday, too. Thank you, Matthew. Good question. So
yeah,
we're all kind of reading these things. What do you think of some of these proposals, and what do you think your teammates and former teammates would think about that?
Yeah, well, first off, way to catch a Game 7 at the age of 4.
Not bad.
That's a good start.
Not bad.
Yeah, I actually think it's going to bring kind of another exciting element to it, mixing up the divisions. How that will work, I don't know, but to have the rivals, I think they're saying the city rivals will probably stick around each other, obviously. But then adding some teams that maybe have bad blood, here and there, they're going to join up and play each other a lot more. The game's always trying to make things more interesting. That's just the way it is right now. And, with the virus, still going on, you just kind of add some more elements to it. So I think it'll be interesting. It'll be, I don't know if things clear up by the time playoffs start, but that'll be very interesting if there's no fans during the playoffs. That'll be a little weird.
Yeah. How do you think guys would be able to play if there's no fans? And by all accounts, that's kind of where we're going, at least right now. What do you think that would be like?
That's just a whole nother that's just a whole nother thing to focus on. Cause if you go into like San Fran was a big place for me where when you go walk out to stretch, you're ready just by the aura, the fans, Boston was like that. St. Louis, I guess, for me, because you don't, but you think you know everybody that's in the seats, and so you get ready for it. But just it's a gut check, it's a mind check for a lot of people that have to find a way to get up for a game, because the stats matter, all your numbers matter, and every day is going to count. So when you go into spring training, you try, you push and everything, but sometimes the crowd and stuff doesn't get you going. And that could be a reason why you don't play well. It's just as simple as that. And so, it's just going to be interesting. It's a whole nother attitude towards it.
Take me back to when you were acquired by John Mozeliak and the Cardinals. And for fans that don't know, Jimmy Edmonds actually was traded to a different team.
Chicago.
That's right.
The White Sox. Yeah.
And he said no. He had a chance to refuse it, so he refuses it. So he wants to go to the West Coast. They say, okay, San Diego, we got this guy free. And hey, Mo and those guys knew all about you. So it wasn't like, oh, just give us the hometown kid. They thought you could be a player. Give me what happened when that happened for you personally? Do you remember that phone call and what was going on then?
Yeah, I was actually in LA, outside LA, at a Burger King, and my phone rang. It was a 314 number, and I didn't obviously have it in my phone, and it was Mozeliak. Left me a message. From what I remember, I knew him, but I wasn't quite sure who I didn't know what was going on. And then Grady Fuson, my farm director from San Diego, called me about 5 minutes after that. And I had his number, so I knew it was him. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And, I just got traded and called Mo back, called him John at first. And then that ended that. But I remember with the first question, because I was a Cardinal fan. Like I was like, who did I get traded for? And he said Edmonds, and I was like, oh no, because I was not to think that I was going to go play with the Cardinals right away. Obviously, coming out of High A, but I was like, man, maybe I can. I love Jimmy Ball Game and all those guys, and then you start thinking about the possibility of being able to play with guys that you loved watching, and so. Obviously Mo was like, don't tell anybody this and that. He obviously knew that I was going to call my parents, but I called my parents, and I don't think I called anybody else until the next day when it went through. But I was kicking myself. I was just like, this isn't real, because you want to get drafted by your hometown team right out of the gate, and then you don't, and then you just move on. You don't really know what to expect or anything, but to come back around and get traded, especially before your first stint in the big leagues, it was cool. It was cool.
I bet. And we have now people asking, Dan, make sure you ask him about his favorite player. I would assume it was Ozzie Smith, I think, from our conversations from years past, but correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it was. I grew up playing short and pitching, and, I guess if you played short, you always pitched too, but it was Ozzie. Like it was, I moved to St. Louis. I was born in Texas, but I moved to St. Louis when I was 3. So kind of grew up, I guess Ozzie's last year was 96 or so, and, all those guys. But Ozzie was just that scrapper that I love defense. Before I hurt my feet, I love defense. And then it was like, oh, great, I got to go play defense. But it was, man, it was so much fun running out there trying to be like Ozzie. And, he made it so easy, but made it look so easy. But, yeah, he was my guy.
How about the first opening day for you in St. Louis, and there he is in the red jacket. You got to shake his hand. Was that just surreal for you?
Yeah, it was cool. Kind of getting backstories on all those, on Gibson, Lou Brock, all those guys. And then, you're at home plate shaking their hands. It wasn't until about 2012 when I actually got to play catch with Ozzie in spring. And I'm 29 by then, maybe.
But wait a minute. Now, this is after you did your thing in 2011.
Yeah.
And you're still getting like that.
Yeah. I was like, I'm for certain that it was after. And he came out to work with grounders, and we were just warming up, and I played it cool or whatever, but I was, I was giddy. I was like, playing catch with Ozzie Smith, the guy that you grew up loving. And, I would still do that with Scott Rowland if we played catch right now. Like like Chipper Jones and Rowland were my 2 favorite guys. Not necessarily because I started playing third, but man, I just love those 2 guys, even from when Scott was in Philly and stuff. And there's just a there's just something else about it when you can just put on two mitts and play catch with those guys, some ex-big leaguers. Really cool.
Now you're going to have two boys. Are you going to get them into baseball, or do you want them to do different things? What are you going to gravitate towards baseball? What do you think it's going to be like?
Yeah, I mean, I want them to be happy. I want them to do whatever they want to do. But kind of open the doors and show them everything. I think, especially, Marin's working, so I'm going to be home a lot more and kind of introduce the boys to some things. And I can't wait. Right now we're kind of kicking the soccer ball around and chucking whatever you're holding. You got to get a backup TV because a TV is going to break sooner or later. So hide a new TV in the garage or something. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait. And if they're into sports, they're into sports. If not, then we move on. But there's a lot of kids that are into sports, then they're not, and then they come back to it, this and that, or vice versa. They just hold off on it, and then they go catch a game somewhere and they fall in love with it. So you just kind of flow with it and see what happens.
This is a good question. We have a 9-year-old asking, do you have any advice for young baseball players my age, a 9-year-old? So that's from David. How about, for a guy that's been through a lot of ups and downs in the mental part of the game, what's your advice for it? Have fun, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely have fun. I think it's tough to say don't take it too seriously, because especially as you climb the ladder in the game, that matters. If you, your priorities and your focus matters, and you can fall through the cracks. And I think the biggest thing that I didn't really learn, and I still have trouble with it, is just washing stuff away. Whether it's 5 minutes in a day or an 0 for 4 or an argument you have with a friend or a wife or whoever, and just take care of it and wash it. Just turn the page. I think the sooner as parents, I think is that we can teach the kids about your mental, focus, or, just towards the game or life, obviously life in general. I think that's just crucial, because it shouldn't crush you. The baseball shouldn't, especially when you're at, Ellisville ballparks and you're 12 years old and, you're rolling over. That's like a guy like Mike Trout, and it comes from his parents. I watch him, and obviously he's extremely successful and he doesn't roll over 4 times a game or whatever. But I think he's successful a lot because he's so good at the mental side of it. He's just confident and he doesn't kick himself. He just moves on. I think it comes from his parents, and guys like that can handle that, they succeed. And then there's more room for fun. If you can control your mind when things aren't going so hot, there's just more room to have a good time.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and we're going to get into 2011 a little bit here, but even in your career after 2011, when we were seeing you and you'd be coming up late in games, I'd say, oh no, Freese is going to come through here late again, because you had the ability to come through when the game was on the line. Mentally, I think you slowed the game down. Is that a fair way to put it? Or why did you have so much success in those kind of moments?
I think one thing I was pretty good at, I was ready for those moments before you're even supposed to be. Those moments can catch up really quick and speed things up. So even if you're in the field and you're about to hit next inning, obviously focus on playing defense, but there's nothing wrong with getting ready sooner than you think you should. Whether you're in the hole, if you're on deck and you're trying to get ready, it's too late. Obviously, if you're rolling, it's middle of the season, you don't really pay attention to much. You just go and hit. But the tough thing about the middle of the season is that it can speed up on you. I think the postseason is just a little different in the sense that, you get 4 ABs a night. You only get 8, in 2 to 3 days. Obviously they're excruciating and very important, but, I think just being able to know yourself and what it takes to slow your game down in your mind, it can go a long ways.
Did Big Mac help you a lot with that?
Yeah, Big Mac was really good at taking care of the younger guys mentally. He had us confident leaving the cage every day. He worked more mechanically with the older guys and this and that. I think he just understood how much your mind mattered. at 7:15 every night, and getting it right before them. Big Mac. I remember in 2010, I had a rough 2009 winter, getting in trouble and stuff. And then we hired Mac, and I remember seeing him at the end of the hallway after the winter warm up, because Tony wanted me to hit with him just to kind of meet and get going a little bit. And my knees were shaking.
I bet
when he put that first ball on the tee, because it was Mac. I mean, I was in the seats when he hit 500 and 501. He hit them in the same night, and I think that was the same night that Tony Gwynn could have got 3,000, but they sat him.
It was Andy Ashby against the Padres were in town when he hit 500, and Gwynn had a chance to get 3,000. Didn't get the hit in St. Louis, and then went to Montreal and got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. But yeah, Big Mac was with John Jay, Alan Craig. I mean, we were good ball players to begin with, but I think Mac just added a whole nother element that he knew we needed, because St. Louis is an organization where if you're young, it's like the Dodgers, like those young guys that come up are ready. Yeah. And it's because of the coaches, it's because of the guys that they draft. But it's tough, man, when and you get called up that like this is a team that needs you, and so you gotta clear the air really quick on being in the big leagues. You gotta get to work.
In game, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the Oswalt game. You hit a home run against the Phillies.
Yeah.
And Tony La Russa said to me one night, he said, I was driving down and was ready.
He's going to bench me.
He was going to bench you. He was not going to start you. It still gets you a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but then I quickly think of everything that happened. But I remember I just did that interview with Buster Olney, a month or so ago, on his Baseball Tonight podcast on Spotify. But and I remember going to the field. I was 0 for like 11 with 8 punch outs against Halladay, Hamels, and Lee, to start that series. And so I'm like, okay, we got Oswalt coming in. I might not play. Like, we got Descalso, who we kind of spot started each other all of 11, in a sense. I got hurt for a little bit, but I remember thinking like, okay, be ready that you might not play. And then I ended up being in there, and I punched out my first at bat, I remember, and I'm like, here we go. This is brutal. But I roped a changeup, I think, down the left field line, and something clicked. Something about my mechanics, my mindset. I became the aggressor a little bit. That's another thing in the postseason, that little bit of should I think even as a pitcher, I would imagine, and a hitter when you're striding, that second guess, you're done.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So you have to find that balance act of being the aggressor. And then when I hit the homer off Oswalt later that night to kind of separate us to go to game 5, my confidence went through the roof, and just took off.
Have you been, game 6 is obviously, for a personal level, probably any boy's dream, but that game 5 against the Phillies with Carpenter and Hallett, have you been a part of a better game than that one?
No. I wish people, I don't like how people don't bring enough. Like, it was incredible. Like, Furcal hit the triple. Then I think Schumacher had a 12-13 pitch app. This is off Halladay. Like, come on. Like, Carpenter, Halladay are best friends. They go to, the Amazon they used to go to the Amazon every offseason or something after the year, but incredible first inning, 1-0, and then Carp just holds them for 9 innings. And you're in Philly, to not hear that crowd.
Pretty good.
Awesome. And then all you hear is your family section. Just really cool. And one of my favorite plays of my entire career is when Yachty threw out Utley, stealing second in the 7th or on a curveball from Carpenter, and he just hosed him. If people don't remember that, they should look that play up. And then Yachty's just screaming. Yachty's my favorite teammate I've ever had, for obvious reasons, but just an incredible game. I'm
going to go back to postseason in just a moment, but you brought up Yachty. So I've been wanting to ask you about this for many, many years since you've been coming back to St. Louis as an opposing player. And Yachty would step out in front of the plate. You're shaking your head every single time. Every time Not once, not twice. I mean, multiple times to make sure you get the ovation. So number one, what was the ovation like? And number two, how much trouble were you giving Yachty and how much trouble was he giving you?
He's just doing that knowing what type of ovation he's going to get when he comes back after he retires.
I'm going to make sure he knows that.
Yeah. No, people won't believe this, but it is up there with doing stuff on the field. To be in those moments and to have Yachty next to me and initiate the respect there. Just really, really cool. And humbly, it kept happening. You know, every time I go to the plate, it was just almost embarrassing for me.
I was going to ask you, was it embarrassing?
Man, yeah, but it was so cool.
You got to love it though. Come on.
It was so cool. Like, it was just, knowing St. Louis and knowing St. Louis fans, I don't want to say I expect it the first time, but you know it's coming. And to have it just keep coming. And I know fans well, we weren't here last time when they did it, so they're going to stand up and this and that. There's reasons to keep cheering, I guess. But just really cool to have those moments, not only with St. Louis fans, but with Yachty for sure.
What did your teammates, so you're coming through with Pittsburgh and all of a sudden this stuff happens, and maybe those guys have never really, they know that it's a baseball town, but then they see this with their teammates. What are they saying to you? I think
you said it right there. I think it kind of caught some guys off guard. Kind of like, whoa, like, you not only kind of affected, people's lives. I'm trying to be,
it's
you
true.
kind of affected people's lives in this way, but this is how they're showing you. I think it caught a lot of people, even the Dodgers, they have a great fan base and a roaring crowd. And I think guys, sometimes start looking at you a little differently in the sense of like, okay, it's 7-8 years later. And man, they're still doing this for you. Like, I'm losing words. Like, it's just really cool.
I bet. I want to go back then to, we're going to get to Game 6 in a moment, but you guys, what kind of gets overshadowed a little bit was beating the Brewers, and you were the NLCS MVP. That was a hotly contested rivalry.
Cool.
That was pretty good.
Yeah,
that was good.
I bet just being at those games and hanging out and stuff, I just can't imagine what being in the seats for those games is like, but let alone on the field. But we went back, and as you're announcing these games all year, and we went back and forth with them all season, benches clearing a little bit with, Niger Morgan and this and that. And then they smoke us by like 10 games, I think, in the division. Yeah. And so we have to open up there for the first two. And I think Braun and Fielder went back to back in the first inning.
Yep.
Just a fireworks show basically. And so, you just pull your hat down a little more and get to work. But that was an angry series, and that was so much fun. That was awesome.
So you win that, you win the MVP there, and then let's go now to Game 6, because I could talk to you about Game 6 all night, which, by the way, I always talk about on the air when we talk about Game 6 and we have you in town, or if it just gets brought up on the telecast, the first 5 or 6 innings, that was a bad game. I hate to tell you that. It was brutal. We had 3 years. Pop-up, Hamilton hit a sky. I'm going to say it was really, really high. But you got to say that. He skied one. I missed it off my head. I think we had a kind of a Texas leaguer in left field that Fuki and Holiday ran into each other, and then Salas threw a bunt into center field. And I think Michael Young might have had a couple errors early on. And that's another guy that I loved watching, man. He would 12 straight years of 100, or I don't know, 15 straight years of 120 hits or something, just dumb. But yeah, the first 5 innings was one of the worst games. You could feel it. People were not happy, obviously. But I remember thinking, especially after the pop-up, because you're just, the whole baseball world is focused on you at the moment. I'm like, okay, this is the picture in the paper tomorrow. And right.
I remember thinking that, obviously it didn't affect me, but I just remember thinking that, oh, and then looking up saying we got a half a game left, and it's still close. It's not like it's a blowout, but man, it was it was not good. But that just shows what type of team we had. From the veterans all the way to the young guys. Like the young guys weren't phased, and we weren't necessarily young, but we weren't phased. And Tony's never phased, and the coaching staff and everybody. And we just had animals, and we had Terrio and Punto and Laird, keeping us loose all year, especially when we're 10 back in September. They did a great job, and Mo made that ridiculous trade in the middle of the year with Rasmus and 3-team deal, and we got some guys, and you got Zepchinski basically to just get Prince Fielder out, and
that's right.
You get Dotel basically just to get Ryan Braun out, and what did they do? That's who they got out for 6 games. So the first to get back, the first 5 innings of Game 6 was horrendous.
When you think back to the triple, by the way, you got birthday wishes from the Texas right fielder. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that. I responded back. Somebody had asked him to do a cameo, and I was like, Derek Gould actually texted me it, because it was nice of him. We were actually texting a little bit anyways, and then that popped up, and he just shot it over just to make sure I had it in case I wanted to respond. And Nelson Cruz is one of baseball's favorite people in the game. Everyone loves him. And for him to do that, that was he must be really bored. Or maybe he needs a couple more bucks, but
hey, it's all good. It was
nice.
Yeah. It was all good fun.
It was really cool that he did that.
When you look back at that, are you still shocked of where they're playing you? Because you were a guy that when right, you're taking the ball to right center and gets over his head on the triple, and it's obviously a great moment. Just take us through the at-bat, where he's playing, and just what's going through your mind there.
Yeah, I'm on deck. Never have faced Phillies before, so I have that going on. Simple, stay simple, stay simple. Just, this and that. But I think I took a slider first pitch for a ball, and I was ready for the heater, and I was ready to hit. Because I think we had first and second. I think that's where Albert and Lance were. But I took that first slider, and I was like, "Oh, I see this. Okay, we have a shot here." And then I just worked a good at bat, and the 3-1 I think 100 blown away for a strike, but I just like flailed at it, and I remember stepping out, still composed, and I was just like, he's gonna do this again, especially the way I looked on the previous pitch. He's just gonna chuck this out there, and I know that's arguably where I wanted it and this and that, but it's still quote unquote impossible to hit. But he threw it in the same spot, and that was a big reason why I whacked it. I didn't know where the outfielders were playing. I knew where the infield was, because when I'm in trouble, I just like to try and shoot balls through and stuff like that. But I didn't know where they were playing. But when I made contact, I honestly was like, I hit it out. Like I thought I hit it out, and then I took a few steps, and then I was like, oh, this is caught. And then I remember I lost it, I think, and so I was about to hit first, and I hit first, and then I heard the crowd, and then I saw the ball again ricochet off. And just mayhem. Mayhem. Just don't get thrown out third. This game's tied. This is crazy. This is crazy. So
and then Hamilton hits a home run. I mean, there's so many good players on both sides in that series. He hits a home run, and you're thinking, and then all of a sudden you have a chance to come up again. So tell me, let's go through that at bat then, and making sure, and you guys were down to your final strike a couple of different times too, and Berkman had the big hit. I mean, there's so many things that happened with it.
Yeah, so much.
The home run, just take me through the at bat and the emotions of it too.
Yeah, I'm out in the field the inning before, and I understand that I'm leading off, so it's kind of like the mentality of just get something going. That's how I've always hit anyways. I'm not, when I try and launch, just ground out to third every time or punch out, so that I never really figured that one out. But trying to figure out this cat. But I remember, Mark Lowe, never faced him, I don't think, before. And so I work like a 3-0 count maybe. and he threw a high heater. It was a ball. I still think it was a ball. And I was furious just because you don't want to lead off the inning. You want to get on base. And then I took a real aggressive hack 3-1 and fouled it straight back. And then I was just kind of looking to drive something up the middle, line drive. I'm 3-2, and he chose not to throw 100, and he threw a 90-mile-an-hour, changeup. And so I got the barrel out on it and clipped it. And I said this in the Buster interview that swing and that pitch was the same swing and pitch that Oswalt threw me in that game 4. Right. There were 2 different pitches. Oswalt's was a heater, but man, I still know what those feel like. Like it was I don't know, it was funny to me, like, cause I was like, damn, that was the same thing that got me going. And I ended up kind of putting I finished differently, but I put the same swing on it.
Do you know it was gone immediately?
Yeah. I mean, home park. Not that I hit a lot of homers, but you just know. Obviously it was cold, so you didn't quite know, but I had a pretty good idea. And Hamilton, the way Hamilton was running, you're like, all right, he thinks this is gone too. So I was just like, holy cow. Now what?
Yeah.
So
how many times do you think you've seen that even the full game or just the at-bats of the triple and the home run? Honestly, how many times have you seen it?
I've never seen the full game. I've just never watched. I've never watched really any of the full games of. I will eventually, maybe with my kids or some buddies or whatever. But I can't even count how many times I've seen. Everybody Michael Jordan would go on his, on the computer and watch highlights and dig me sessions, and everybody does that. So I would run back to 11 and just have a confidence build up or, whatever, and just look at stuff, and those hits go in there. We deal with failure, the whole season. So, you need those moments. I think you got to lift yourself up in anything you do in life. But man, I don't know how many times that I've seen those, but it's cool when they pop up on commercials and stuff, and they throw you in with all the other big hits in the postseason. And then you're wearing a Cardinal jersey. It's just stupid.
What do you remember about rounding the bases, or even just getting the shredder was waiting for you, the whole team was waiting for you? What do you remember about that?
Yeah, I remember rounding second base. I remember people don't believe this, but the night before, I went to Mi Ranchito and had Mexican when the game got canceled with Ryan Mueller, a buddy of mine, and we were talking about Edmonds when he hit the Game 6 homer in the NLCS, and I thought of that after I hit it. Probably it was just on my mind and just the correlation between the two, but thinking about that and then telling myself, look into home plate and remember that, remember the guys that were storming the dish out of the dugout. And I'm glad I caught that image, because I think sliding into third and seeing Okendo and looking in the dugout, that's my favorite hit, is the triple probably. But the personal viewpoint of seeing home plate before getting to third base, that was cool. That was really cool.
As crazy as it may sound, how has it changed your life? I mean, just that one single game, it's meant so much to so many people in our town and across Cardinal Nation, if you will, and the fan base all across the world. How has it changed your life? Because I get goosebumps thinking about it right now. What's it like for you?
Yeah, I mean, get personal here, but growing up, in high school and getting older and having a drinking problem, and I got my second DUI. I got my first DUI when I was at Merrimack. Had another arrest in between that and the 2009 DUI I got. They're heavy DUIs too, so it's tough. But that was a moment where I stopped drinking for about 2 years, and I didn't drink in 10. I didn't drink in 11. But probably a month or two after the World Series, it was just heavy. Everything was heavy. I didn't want the spotlight. I just wanted to play ball and be around my teammates and this and that. And, I wasn't ready for it. I'm not saying I didn't like it or this and that. I would have, if it happened to me now, my life would have been even more different in a completely different way, just by my maturity nowadays and this and that. But I just started boozing again. Like, it was just tough. It was a moment where I kind of said, screw it, let's go, let's relax. And that's how I did it. And so I got back to drinking, and I don't drink anymore, and I hope I don't drink ever again. But I got back into a little bit, and when 12 happened, 12 is the best year I had in the big leagues. But you're
All-star
going
that
through
year.
yeah, you're going through things that people don't know about. And then 13 happens. That was a wreck of a season. And then you get traded, and getting traded was tough, but it was something where it should happen, it needs to happen. Even a business side of it, they're trying to win, they're trying to do their things. They got Carpenter, they got Wong, but the personal side of it was, I thank them for it. I remember meeting with Matheny a week before the trade, sat down one morning, and kind of got the ear that it was going to happen. Broke down crying, like doing the whole one more shot thing. But internally, I knew that it was a good thing, and they found a good spot for me. And the Angels was a great spot for me. It was a big transition period in my life to try and figure stuff out. I got shot out to Anaheim, with a great group, but I was still going through stuff, still doing what I was doing. And then after that, I just canned it. Like, it was time to, and it was and this is personal, but like, it was my wife, where in the sense of like, how dare do I need to live my life a certain way to where she has to live hers differently because I'm screwing up? Like, that's just ridiculous. And nobody's perfect, and I'm not going to be perfect the rest of my life or whatever, especially, with whatever. But that just got me. Like, I read that somewhere, and it just got me, and it kind of started changing the way I looked at, some things. I still battle with a lot of things. I still battle with not drinking, but it's just going good right now.
When I hear you talk like this, I hear a coach. I hear a guy that has a great understanding of the ups and downs of the game and can relate to players. Is that something that you've thought about, coaching at some level or getting into the game in a different capacity?
Yeah, maybe. It takes a lot of time out of your day, especially nowadays, being in uniform. What coaches especially have to do nowadays, with analytics and the requirements, that are different than even 10 years ago. I don't know if the dugout will ever be in my future, but I want to be around the game in some capacity. And I think there's things that I can give off to people, but right now I'm just enjoying my time, where my brain is now, just kind of unloading on baseball and moving on a little bit. But baseball's in me. It always will be. And, the Cardinals are for sure. And, not to disrespect any other team I played for, but I don't see myself doing really anything with any other team. It's just how I am. I just love the Cardinals. So,
I'm pretty sure about this, but you would qualify for the Cardinals Hall of Fame once there's a certain, time period once you're officially retired. I got a feeling, David, I'm going to go out on a limb here, that if you were on the ballot, you might be a first ballot 100%er. Okay. I'm just going to say that. But have you thought about that and what that might be like? Because it's for the fans. It's not Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. It's for special people and moments and things that, bring us all back to Cardinal baseball. Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I have. Do I worry about what happens with that? Absolutely not. Like, those are the things that I can handle that are out of my control. It's
right.
it's the other stuff that sometimes gives me problems. But I mean, it'd be a blast. I played 5 seasons there. I was hurt a lot. When I played, I did pretty well. Obviously 11 and turned people's perspective around of my my tenure there. But I think about it, joining that club, that group. It would be awesome. Like, I don't know what else to say. It would be great. But it's not up to me.
Do you still talk to a lot of the Memphis Mafia guys, Descalso, Alan Craig, obviously yourself? I mean, that was a good group of guys. John Gray, do you hear from those guys, and what are they doing?
Yeah, we'll group text every now and then, and cut it up randomly. That Memphis time was a blast. Hey, Memphis is dangerous. But AutoZone Park is one of the best parks to play in. And, we won the PCL in 2009. I got hurt in that wreck I got in. And, I broke camp, which was cool in 2009, but then got sent down. And, I'm glad that happened. Like, I ended up having surgery, but I came back. And we ended up, we ran through. We didn't lose a game in the PCL playoffs. And it was sweet. I think about that all the time. That group, just a great group. And, the handful of young guys you call the Memphis Mafia, what a group of guys to do that with. So just really cool.
We have a question here from, let's see, this is Brian in Alton, and he's asking about the 2011 World Series. And when Tony decided to retire, did you guys have any inclination whatsoever? None.
No, that's what's crazy is people probably don't believe that. Like maybe Albert.
I don't believe it. Okay, I don't believe it.
Yeah, dude, I swear, like maybe Chris Carpenter or Albert or maybe they knew, but literally the feeling in the weight room after, I think it was after the parade, we all went in the weight room and Tony told us, and like not the gasp, because I think everyone was too exhausted to react just from the last 6 weeks or whatever, but like we didn't know. I definitely didn't know. Like my reaction was like, all right, cool, man. Hell yeah. Like what a way to go out. But then you start hearing things that he told DeWitt in like July, or something that this was going to be it. And then everything, whether that's true, I don't know. But like, then everything unfolds the way it did, just makes it even cooler. But definitely was different knowing Tony wasn't going to be there. And Albert, ended up not coming back. You kind of saw that coming, but I had no clue. I don't know if the other guys did, the veteran guys, but we definitely did.
How many people? I'll get a couple more questions. We'll let you go.
Yeah. No, you're good.
They just are loving this. How many people come up to you and want to talk to you, especially in St. Louis? They're like, oh, there's David Freese. How many people want to come up and have a story about, I met my future husband, I met my wife at that game, I it was my kid's first game, just a special story and a connection because of you. And how cool is that for you?
Right. My kid was born 9 months after that, like all those stories, but
a lot of those, I bet.
Yeah. But that's the coolest part about it. Like a Midwest town, if you do good things, everyone's going to be cool to you, and that's just kind of the way it is. But like the stories, especially in a city like St. Louis, where you're some degree connected to everybody in a way.
Yes.
It has its issues, it has its privacy issues and this and that, but you really can't change it for anything because you want to be connected to people. That's what we're all about. And to hear stories and to hear genuine stories, from kids, like the older people, I get a kick out of those stories. Like, grandma and grandpa coming up and like just the sweetest people ever, when people are real genuine, man, there's nothing better than hearing those stories. And not like nowadays, I'm married and, you have a kid running around and you go back, like that was a tough part. Cause almost everywhere I went, whether into a store or not, I'm by myself. So there's kind of an easier opening to come say something, which is fine. But everybody had so much respect for me when I was there and hanging in there when I was going through my BS and all that. But just, man, from there or not, it's just not a better city to do cool things on a baseball field. Like it was just awesome.
I've been meaning to add, I forgot about this too. This is, I'm trying to find the name here. Oh, Alex Simmons. Thanks, Alex. Who got the home run ball? So it lands in the grass.
Yeah.
See people going for it. Who got the home run ball? Do you know?
A drunk Cubs fan.
Oh.
He fell on it he was hammered.
So he got the ball.
Yeah. Him and his buddy came down after the game, and I think he wanted the private jet. I think he wanted. He ended up with signed bat, maybe a team bat, maybe something from Albert. But he was so hammered. But I ended up getting the ball. I have the ball. And
you have it locked up somewhere?
It's actually just in my parents' basement. I kept some of the other baseballs that throughout my career. And so they're just hanging out with the trophy and everything, just in boxes downstairs in my parents' basement. But yeah, I have it, which is real cool. I wish I knew where the helmet went. I have no idea where that. Yeah, nobody knows. Somebody has it, but nobody knows where that went.
And I guess like your uniform got shredded, and then that's
yeah. I have half of it.
You got half, and then MLB's got the other half.
The Hall of Fame. I think either the Busch Stadium had my half. I gave it to him for a little bit, and then they just gave it back to me. I think that's how that went. But the Hall of Fame has the bat and the jersey. I remember after Game 6, the Hall of Fame came up and basically told me to save the bat and use it for Game 7. And I was like, hell no. Like, I'm going to shatter this thing tomorrow night. And like, I don't care about superstition. I was 0 for 3 in Game 6, and then I switched to that bat. So like take it off my, no, yeah. But like, I let him, I just used another bat, and I had a big hit my first at bat in Game 7 with the ribbies, and that was sweet tying that game up. But I was like, take this off my hands. I don't want to have a reason to use this tomorrow, because if I snap it, that'd be brutal.
It would be. I'll wrap it up with this. Again, this is presented by Budweiser, Wells Fargo, Shelter Insurance, Scott Credit Union. Fans are just loving it. A chance to catch up with 2011 World Series MVP David Freese. What are you most proud of? As you look back on your career, now you're officially retired. You had one of the greatest games, if not the greatest game in baseball history. The ups and downs. What are you most proud of in your Cardinal career, and just in your career in general too?
I think just pushing through. It's cliche, but I'll be honest. There was a lot of times, whether it's my view on baseball or just my mental weakness at times, but like there's times where I just was done with it. I wanted to quit, and it was never during the season. I always respected, I signed up for this, let's rock and roll. But like the off season was tough sometimes, where I was like, I've had it. Like let's just move on. But man, I'm glad I didn't. It has nothing to do with the money. It has nothing to do with playing in October. I was going to quit if I didn't get traded to the Dodgers, I was retiring. I knew I was a year away from 10 years, but that really wasn't important to me. But I was just done. But man, just pushing through, like the idea of respecting your future, understanding how grateful you should be. That's one thing I think I've always been grateful, but without like the focus of it, like really itemizing what am I grateful for. That's really changed me, instead of just like sitting in the clouds being grateful. Like really understanding what you're grateful for on a daily basis, that can change your brain. But just pushing through. Cardinals the rest of my career, just I don't know, like that. I'm just selfishly proud of that for a lot of things. And I think you can show a lot of people what you're made of if you just take a breath and understand that everything's all right, and just go about your business, respectfully and in a mature way. I don't know.
It's so well put. And I know our fans love this. When you were with the Cardinals, I just loved watching you play and visit with you on a personal level. You know that. And
me too, Dan.
I miss seeing you around the ballpark, but what just a hell of a career, man. It was so much fun to watch and so much fun to catch up with you. You're doing great.
Yeah,
you look great.
cool.
And
Thanks.
We're going to get you to the ballpark a lot, man.
Yeah,
so ready for it.
I'll come up and hang out with you.
I love it. You want a job in the booth? I got other guys. Come on up.
I'll do it for free one night. That's all I got for you.
I love it.
All right, cool. I appreciate it, Dan.
Good luck with the baby, too.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Lafayette High School's own David Freese, forever and always, not just a Cardinal, but a St. Louis legend. So great to have you on the program today. Appreciate you listening. Hope that you really enjoyed it, that it brought a smile to your face. If you liked that, you can head over to cardinals.com/townhall. There are similar discussions. John Mozeliak, Mike Schilt, I believe Jim Edmonds joined Danny Mac at one point, so there's a lot of good stuff to be had there. Plus, there is other programming available. You can check it out at cardinals.com/programming. It links to our YouTube, to our podcast, to what's going on with our partners KMOX and Fox Sports Midwest. If you're missing baseball right now, cardinals.com/programming has just about every type of variety that you could want. Something to listen to in the car, something to watch at home at night with the family, something short to tide you over, something long to really dig into on a rainy Saturday afternoon. Whatever kind of content you need, cardinals.com/programming. So glad to have had you here. Also want to remind you that you can check out our resources as the community battles COVID-19. Cardinals.com/support. Both resources for you as you want to help others, and if you might need help as we all stand together against this virus. Thanks for joining us this week. My name is Brett McMillan. We'll check you next time on the Cardinals Insider Podcast.